Black CEO publicly insulted by billionaire Heiress hours later. She owned her fortune. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Step aside. This lounge isn't for assistance. The words sliced through the hum of conversation like glass shattering on marble. Heads turned. Champagne paused midair, and every gaze found the woman they thought didn't belong, her skin rich like mahogany, her posture calm but unbending. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Evelyn Monroe. It happened at 2:13 p.m. inside the Rosewood Plaza in Manhattan, where money smelled like perfume and entitlement dressed in diamonds. The heiress Eva Kensington, 27, legacy child of the Kensington Trust, didn't even look at Evelyn when she spoke. She just assumed. "You're in the wrong section," she added, waving her manicured hand like brushing dust off velvet. The irony? The woman she dismissed quietly owned the company Eva's family had been trying to buy for months. Evelyn didn't flinch. She had learned long ago that racism in luxury spaces didn't come as screams. It came as whispers wrapped in etiquette. Her eyes tracked Eva, slowly the pearl dress, the bored smile, the entourage of friends pretending not to stare. One of them giggled. "Guess the help's getting bold these days." Eva laughed, light and cruel, then turned to the waiter. "Next time, vet your guests better." The air shifted. The pianist stopped mid-note. Evelyn looked down at her reflection in the champagne glass, steady, restrained, lethal. Every instinct told her to walk away, but she remembered her mother's words. "When they underestimate you, stay still. Let them show their hands." So she stayed. The room waited for a scene, but Evelyn refused to give them one. Instead, she picked up her tablet, typed a message with 2 words, asterisk, activate protocol. Asterisk. Somewhere downtown, a notification blinked in her assistant's inbox, and that was the moment the tables began to turn quietly, like a fuse burning toward revelation. The lounge was quiet again, but not calm. Every pair of eyes tried to pretend they were not watching Evelyn Monroe, yet curiosity was thicker than the perfume in the air. Eva Kensington leaned back on the velvet sofa, whispering to her friends as if they were front-row spectators at a play she directed. "You see? Some people just do not understand their place," she said, loud enough to travel. One of her friends, Charlotte, laughed too quickly, her pearls clinking against the glass she held. A waiter approached nervously, unsure who to serve first. Eva gestured at Evelyn's untouched drink. "Take that away. She will not need it." The man hesitated, his eyes darting from Evelyn's calm face to Eva's commanding one. Evelyn looked up and said softly, "Leave it, I ordered it." Her voice was low, but it carried weight. The waiter froze, nodded, and walked away without a word. Eva's lips twitched. "You must be new money," she said with a smirk. Old money would have known when to stay silent. Evelyn turned her head slowly. "Money does not teach silence, Eva. Fear does." That line sliced through the air. One of the men nearby coughed to hide a reaction. Eva's posture stiffened. She hated being challenged, especially by someone the room had not yet decided to respect. "Do you even know where you are?" Eva asked, crossing her legs with deliberate grace. "This is the Rosewood Plaza Lounge, invitation only." Evelyn held her gaze. "I know exactly where I am. The question is, do you?" The words were gentle, but something in her tone made the room uneasy. Eva laughed, trying to reclaim control. "I admire the confidence. Really. But next time, try walking in through the service entrance. It is less confusing for everyone." A faint gasp came from a young hostess near the door. Her name tag read Times Mila, asterisk, and she looked barely 20. Her hands trembled as she held the reservation tablet. She stepped forward carefully. "Excuse me, Miss Kensington," she said, voice soft but shaking. Miss Monroe's name is listed on the executive list. She has full access clearance. Ava blinked, then frowned. That cannot be right. She is not on my father's board. Evelyn did not move. You are correct. Your father reports to mine. The words landed like a verdict. For a moment, no one breathed. Mila lowered her eyes quickly, realizing what she had just revealed. Ava laughed again, but the sound cracked halfway. You are joking. Evelyn leaned back slightly, calm, her hands folded in her lap. You called me an assistant. You took my seat. You erased my presence in a place built to protect privilege. Tell me, Ava, does it still feel like a joke? Ava's smile faltered, her cheeks tightening as her friends exchanged glances. A quiet hum of whispers filled the space, like wind before a storm. Evelyn's phone vibrated once in her hand. A text appeared. Asterisk protocol confirmed. Asterisk. She did not look at it. She did not need to. The real revelation had already begun, right there under the gold light of a room that suddenly realized who held the true power. The silence inside the Rosewood Plaza lounge was heavy now, the kind that makes every sound too loud. A drop of water hit the marble floor somewhere near the bar, and even that seemed intrusive. Ava Kensington straightened in her seat, her voice trembling with a sharpness that tried to hide fear. Do you expect me to believe that nonsense? She said. Her laughter returned, hollow this time, a little too high. You are pretending, trying to embarrass me in public. You think I will fall for that? Evelyn Monroe did not answer. She did not need to. The entire lounge had already shifted. Power had changed hands without permission. A man in a navy suit at the next table whispered to his wife. That is the Monroe name she just said, right? Monroe Holdings? The woman nodded, her eyes wide. They own half of Fifth Avenue. Ava heard it too. Her face stiffened. She turned to the waiter she had dismissed earlier. You, she snapped. Confirm it. Check with the front desk. This cannot be real. The waiter hesitated, caught between his job and the truth that was unfolding in front of him. Evelyn finally spoke, her tone level, deliberate. It is real enough to make you reconsider how you speak to people. Ava's friend Charlotte leaned in, whispering fast. Ava, stop. People are recording. Ava looked around and saw 2 phones angled low, their red lights blinking like warnings. Her voice rose anyway. This is ridiculous. Who let her in here? The manager appeared from the back corridor, drawn by the commotion. His name tag read Times Mr. Dalton, asterisk his expression calm but cautious. Is there a problem? He asked. Ava pointed sharply. Yes, this woman is impersonating a client. She claims to be Evelyn Monroe. Evelyn interrupted, steady as ever. And I am not claiming, I am confirming. Mr. Dalton's brow furrowed. He turned to the young hostess, Mila. Is that true? Mila swallowed hard. Yes, sir. Her name is on the executive registry, under Monroe Holdings. Mr. Dalton's eyes widened slightly. That list is only accessible through private channels. It is, Evelyn replied. I wrote them. That single line hit harder than any raised voice could. Ava took a step back, color draining from her face. You cannot be serious, she whispered. I am, Evelyn said softly. And I wish I did not have to prove it this way. Ava's eyes darted around the room, searching for someone to save her from the embarrassment tightening around her like smoke. Her friends looked away. Even the waiter refused to meet her gaze. You do not belong here, Ava said again, weaker now, like she was trying to convince herself. Evelyn rose from her seat, calm but absolute. Neither do you, she said. Not until you learn that wealth without respect is just noise. The words hung in the air, final and heavy. Then Evelyn placed her phone on the table, the screen lighting up with an incoming call labeled Times Carla Evans, Executive Counsel. Asterisk. She did not press answer yet. She looked at Ava, eyes unflinching. When you called me out, you thought this was about class. It is about character. And today, you are being measured. In that instant, even the chandeliers seemed to dim as the truth settled over the room like judgment waiting to be spoken. For a moment, no one in the Rosewood Plaza lounge dared to move. The hum of the city outside was distant, muffled behind layers of glass and money. Inside, everything stood still around Evelyn Monroe. Her phone still glowed faintly on the marble table. The name Times Carla Evans. Executive Council times pulsing like a silent drumbeat. Ava Kensington's breath came fast, shallow. "You cannot talk to me like that," she stammered. "Do you have any idea who my father is?" Evelyn lifted her eyes, calm as if she had heard that question her entire life. "I do," she said quietly. "He is one of the men who sits on the Kensington Trust Board, the same board that just lost its largest investor this morning." Ava blinked. "What?" Evelyn's gaze did not waver. "That withdrawal was signed by me." The shock rippled through the room like a wave breaking on marble. Even the pianist, who had been frozen mid-key, let out a small, stunned laugh before catching himself. Ava's friend Charlotte covered her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. Ava shook her head violently, desperate to hold on to denial. "You are lying. My father would have told me." Evelyn's expression softened just slightly. "He did not have the chance. The call went out 20 minutes ago." A low murmur spread across the lounge, voices overlapping in disbelief. Mr. Dalton, the manager, stepped forward again, trying to steady the situation. "Miss Monroe," he said carefully, "if there has been a misunderstanding—" "There has not," Evelyn said. "There has been a pattern." Her voice was calm, but it filled the room. "People like Ava are raised to think the world bends for them, but every generation learns the same lesson eventually. The world only bends to truth." Ava's face turned crimson. "You are humiliating me," she shouted. "You humiliated yourself," Evelyn replied. "You just did it loudly." The hostess Mila looked between them, her hands trembling around the tablet she still held. She whispered, "I can confirm her credentials. They match the ownership file. Monroe Holdings owns 37% of Kensington Trust." The words hung like a verdict. Ava staggered back, grasping for air that no longer felt available. Her friends looked anywhere but at her. Mr. Dalton straightened, the color draining from his face. "Miss Monroe," he said, "I had no idea." "You were not supposed to," Evelyn interrupted. "That was the point. I wanted to see how your staff treats someone who does not look like they belong." The silence that followed was thick with recognition and regret. A woman sitting near the bar, a guest who had watched the entire confrontation, finally spoke. "This is what happens all the time," she said quietly. "They just never get caught." Evelyn turned toward her, nodding once in acknowledgement. Then she looked back at Ava, her tone cooling to steel. "You said earlier that old money knows when to stay silent. Maybe start practicing." Her phone buzzed again. This time she answered. "Carla, proceed," she said. The speaker carried Carla's voice through the room, crisp and measured. "Confirmed. The Kensington accounts have been frozen for internal review per your instruction, Miss Monroe." Ava gasped, her voice breaking. "You cannot do that." Evelyn met her eyes. "I already did." The chandeliers reflected in her gaze like stars over calm water. She stood, adjusting her blazer, every movement deliberate. "Next time you decide who belongs, look deeper than the surface. It might save you from losing everything built on it." And with that, she ended the call, leaving a room full of silence and a legacy of arrogance turned to ash. The echo of Evelyn's final words lingered in the lounge like a chill that no one could shake off. Ava Kensington stood motionless, her manicured hand gripping the edge of the sofa, as if the fabric could anchor her back to a world that made sense. Her friends had fallen completely silent, their laughter evaporated, replaced by a nervous tension that hummed through the air. Evelyn Monroe did not move quickly. She walked with the slow precision of someone who had just rewritten the power in the room. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor, each step measured, each sound deliberate. The manager, Mr. Dalton, swallowed hard. "Miss Monroe," he said, his voice subdued now, "please understand, this staff had no idea of your position." Evelyn turned to him, her expression steady but not cruel. "That is exactly what I wanted to know," she said. "How you treat the ones you assume are beneath you says everything about who you are when no one is watching." Mr. Dalton's shoulders sagged as if the truth itself had weight. Ava's breathing was uneven. "You will regret this," she whispered. "My family has influence." Evelyn stopped, facing her directly. "Influence is not the same as integrity," she said quietly. "And without integrity, all you have is a shadow of power." A few guests began to clap softly, unsure if they were witnessing justice or history. Ava's friends gathered their handbags and slipped away without another word, leaving her alone in the middle of a crowd that no longer looked at her with admiration. Evelyn glanced toward the young hostess, Mila, who still stood near the podium, visibly shaken but proud. "You did the right thing," Evelyn said. "Do not let anyone make you doubt that." Mila nodded, tears filling her eyes. "Thank you, Miss Monroe." Evelyn gave a small nod in return, then reached for her phone. She opened her messages. A live update from Carla Evans appeared on screen. Asterisk. All Kensington Trust subsidiary transactions have been halted. Internal compliance team will audit immediately. Asterisk. Evelyn typed a single word in response. Asterisk. Approved. Asterisk. Ava stumbled forward, her voice trembling. "You cannot just destroy my family's company because of one argument." Evelyn looked at her for a long moment before replying. "This is not about an argument, Ava. It is about accountability. The moment you decided my worth based on my skin and not my name, you lost the privilege of pretending it was business." The entire lounge absorbed her words. Somewhere near the back, a man whispered, "That is power without noise." Evelyn exhaled slowly, her calm returning like a tide. "Do not mistake my silence for submission," she said finally. "It is the sound of restraint, the kind that comes before change." Her phone buzzed once more. Carla's voice came through in a calm tone over the speaker. "Miss Monroe, media outlets are already reporting on the Kensington suspension. Would you like to issue a statement?" Evelyn's eyes swept over the room, from the staff who had watched silently to the guests who had witnessed the humiliation turn justice. "Not yet," she said. "Let them talk. The truth does not need me to defend it." Then she turned, walking toward the exit with the quiet poise of someone who no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. Behind her, the once exclusive lounge felt smaller, emptier, like it had just been stripped of its illusion of superiority. Ava sank into her chair, eyes wide and unfocused, realizing too late that arrogance had cost her more than pride. It had cost her an empire. Outside the Rosewood Plaza, the Manhattan air felt different, colder, cleaner, alive with whispers. Evelyn Monroe stepped onto the sidewalk, her reflection stretching across the glass doors behind her. Inside, Ava Kensington remained frozen in her seat. But outside, the story had already begun to move faster than she could contain it. Phones were out, posts were written, and the world was starting to learn what had just unfolded in that marble lounge. Evelyn's black sedan pulled up to the curb, sleek and silent. Her driver, Thomas, stepped out and opened the door, but she paused before getting in. Across the street, reporters had already begun to gather, two from financial news outlets, one from a lifestyle magazine. The murmurs of her name rippled through the small crowd. "That is her," someone whispered. "The woman who just froze Kensington Trust." Evelyn ignored them. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. The screen glowed with messages from Carla Evans. Asterisk. Kensington Trust Board in emergency session. Media requests surging. Awaiting directive. Evelyn typed slowly. Every letter deliberate. Do not respond. Let the silence speak first. Asterisk. She put the phone away, then looked up at the sky, pale gray and unbothered. Her calm was not for show. It was armor. Inside her mind, fragments of memory flickered the first time she was denied entry to a boardroom she funded, the condescending smile from a banker who asked if she was the assistant, the time she had to prove she belonged by buying the entire company that had refused her signature. Every slight had built this moment. She had not come this far to scream. She had come to endure. Thomas waited quietly until she finally said, "Take me to the tower." "Yes, ma'am," he replied. As the car merged into traffic, the city stretched out before them, bright and indifferent. Evelyn glanced at the passing skyline, her thoughts razor-sharp. By now, Ava's world was unraveling. Her father would have received the notification about the audit. The trust stock would already be sliding. Their empire of entitlement finally facing something it could not outspend: accountability. Her phone buzzed again, another message from Carla. Asterisk. Update. Kensington Trust leadership requests direct meeting. They are offering full cooperation. Asterisk. Evelyn read it and let out a quiet breath. Not quite a sigh, not quite relief. "They always do when the cameras turn on," she murmured. Thomas glanced in the mirror but said nothing. Traffic slowed near Madison Avenue. A digital billboard flashed above the street, displaying breaking news. Asterisk Monroe Holdings initiates investigation into Kensington Trust allegations. Asterisk beneath it, a smaller line read, Asterisk sources confirm public altercation preceded decision. Asterisk Evelyn's reflection appeared beneath the headline. For a brief moment, she studied herself, not with pride, but with clarity. She whispered under her breath, "They will call it scandal, but this is correction." Then her phone rang again, Carla's voice steady on the other end. "Miss Monroe, the press is requesting your comment. Do you want me to draft something?" Evelyn answered, her tone even and cold. "No statements yet. The truth has more power when they have to find it themselves." Carla hesitated. "Understood." Evelyn ended the call and looked out the window again. The city rolled by, unaware that history had just shifted inside a single afternoon. In a world obsessed with noise, Evelyn had proven once again that silence, when backed by truth, was the loudest sound of all. By the time Evelyn Monroe reached the top floor of Monroe Tower, the city had turned into a blur of glass and consequence. The elevator doors opened to reveal her private executive suite, a space that looked less like an office and more like a command center of precision. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline. A quiet storm was gathering over the Hudson, clouds rolling low and metallic. Carla Evans was already waiting by the long conference table, tablet in hand, her expression poised but grave. "It has begun," she said simply. Evelyn removed her coat and laid it neatly over the chair. "How bad is it?" "Kensington Trust stock dropped 12% in the last hour," Carla replied. "The board called an emergency meeting at their estate, but without your capital line, they are paralyzed." Evelyn nodded once, the motion small but certain. "Good. Let them sit in the silence they used to reserve for people like me." Carla hesitated before adding, "There is more. Someone leaked the lounge footage. It is everywhere." Evelyn looked up slowly. "Who leaked it?" "The hostess," Carla said. "Mila. It is already on multiple platforms." The caption reads, "When power finally meets respect." It has over 2 million views. For a moment, Evelyn said nothing. She walked toward the window, her reflection merging with the clouds outside. "They will call it a scandal," she said quietly. "But it is not. It is revelation." Carla approached carefully. "Do you want me to take it down?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, let it stay. People need to see what discrimination looks like in designer heels and pearls." Carla studied her for a long second. "You know, Miss Monroe, the world is going to turn this into a symbol. You, her, the confrontation. They will turn it into headlines, hashtags, debates." Evelyn turned, her voice calm but edged with something sharper. "Then let them. Symbols do not scare me. Silence does." Carla exhaled, understanding the weight behind the words. "What about Ava Kensington?" she asked. "She called twice. Her father called 4 times. Evelyn's eyes flicked toward the phone on her desk, its screen still glowing with missed calls. "Ignore them," she said. "They are not calling to apologize. They are calling to contain." Carla nodded, scrolling through her tablet. "Our legal department suggests you issue a statement clarifying that this was a personal matter, not a corporate act." Evelyn smiled faintly, the kind of smile that did not reach her eyes. "It was both," she said. "When a black woman walks into a room and gets treated like an intruder, that is personal. When she owns the company that runs that room, that is corporate. The difference is only perspective." Carla's expression softened into something like pride. "Understood." Outside, thunder rolled faintly over the city. Evelyn watched the clouds drift lower, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "They will try to make this about anger," she said. "But it is not anger. It is accountability dressed in patience." The words hung between them like a promise. Then her phone vibrated again, a message from an unknown number. She opened it. Asterisk. "You proved your point. Let us fix this privately. No more press." Asterisk. Evelyn read it once, twice, then locked the screen. "They still do not understand," she murmured. "This is not about fixing what they broke. It is about making sure they can never break it again." She turned back to Carla. "Schedule the meeting for tomorrow. I want every member of the Kensington board in this building by noon. They will face me, not the idea of me." And as lightning lit the skyline behind her, Evelyn stood tall, framed by the city that once doubted her, ready to finish what their prejudice had started. The next morning arrived with the kind of sharp brightness that felt almost cruel after a storm. Monroe Tower stood like a mirror to the city, its windows reflecting both sunlight and scrutiny. By 8:30, the media had already stationed themselves at the base of the building, microphones ready, headlines rolling. Heiress faces fallout. Monroe versus Kensington. Power, race, and reckoning. Inside. Evelyn Monroe was the calm center of that chaos. She stood at the head of the long glass conference table, reviewing the latest reports as Carla Evans entered carrying 2 phones and a folder, thick with updates. "They are here," Carla said. "Security just confirmed it. The entire Kensington board." Evelyn did not look up. "Good. Let them wait 5 minutes. I want them to feel what distance feels like." She signed a document with deliberate precision, her hand steady as if her pen carried centuries of restraint. Then she closed the folder and finally met Carla's gaze. "How bad is their exposure?" "Severe," Carla answered. "Their trust fund lost 3 major partners overnight." The footage was shared by 3 global news outlets. "It is not just a scandal now. It is a case study." Evelyn nodded once, a slow exhale leaving her lips. "Then let us make it a lesson." The doors opened as security escorted the Kensington delegation inside. 6 people in tailored suits filed in, their faces tight with polite panic. At the center was Arthur Kensington, silver-haired, jaw set, trying to hold on to the authority that had built his empire. His daughter, Ava, trailed behind him, her expression pale, her confidence fractured. The moment Arthur saw Evelyn, he extended his hand. "Miss Monroe," he began, voice firm but cautious. "Let us put yesterday behind us. It was a misunderstanding that went too far." Evelyn did not take his hand. "No," she said calmly. "It was not a misunderstanding. It was a mirror. You are only uncomfortable because, for once, it reflected back at you." Arthur's jaw tightened. "We have always respected you, Evelyn. Your company's investment meant." She cut him off, her tone precise. "Respect that requires wealth to be seen is not respect. It is dependency." The words hung in the air, sharp enough to make Ava flinch. "Miss Monroe," Arthur said, lowering his voice, "my daughter spoke out of ignorance, not malice." Evelyn stepped closer, her heels silent on the marble floor. "Ignorance is not an excuse when it holds power. It is a weapon. And yesterday she used it." Ava's eyes filled with tears, but Evelyn's voice remained steady. "You asked me once, Ava, if I knew where I was. Now I ask you, do you?" Silence swallowed the room. Arthur cleared his throat. "What do you want?" Evelyn turned to Carla, who slid a document across the table. "Effective immediately," Evelyn said. "Monroe Holdings will absorb all equity shares previously held by Kensington Trust as repayment for breach of ethical compliance. You will sign, and in return, your company will remain operational under my supervision." Arthur stared at the paper, disbelief etched across his face. "You cannot possibly expect." "I can," Evelyn interrupted softly. "And you will, because this is not vengeance, Mr. Kensington. It is restoration." Ava spoke suddenly, voice trembling. "Why are you doing this? What do you gain?" Evelyn looked at her, eyes calm but unyielding. "What every woman who has been dismissed, doubted, or diminished deserves the right to be heard without raising her voice." She slid the pen across the table. "Sign it." Arthur hesitated, then slowly took the pen. As ink touched paper, the room shifted, history bent, not in anger, but in balance. When he finished, Evelyn whispered, "You called me an outsider in a world I built. Now, I own the one that tried to shut me out." And in that single breath, justice became reality. The sound of the pen dropping onto the table was the loudest thing in the room. For a long moment, no one moved. The Kensington board members sat frozen, the weight of what they had just signed settling into the air like dust after a collapse. Arthur Kensington's hand trembled slightly. His signature, the same one that had once commanded empires, looked small beneath Evelyn Monroe's. She did not gloat. She did not smile. She simply stood, gathering the documents, as if closing a chapter she had waited her entire life to finish. Ava Kensington's eyes were glassy, her voice breaking. You could have destroyed us completely. Why stop here? Evelyn looked at her for a long moment before answering. Because power without mercy becomes the same cruelty that built your world. I will not repeat it. I will redefine it. Arthur stood slowly, pride fractured, but not yet gone. What happens now? Evelyn walked toward the tall windows that overlooked Manhattan, her reflection framed by light. Now you rebuild, but under new rules, she said. No more silent discrimination hidden behind policy. No more decisions made in rooms where everyone looks the same. You will hire differently, you will lead differently, or I will finish what today started. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but no one in that room mistook it for a suggestion. Carla Evans handed her another file. Inside were the new compliance terms. Evelyn placed it in front of Arthur. Every member of your board will undergo recertification under Monroe Ethics Review. It begins immediately. Those who refuse will resign by tomorrow. Arthur nodded weakly, the defiance gone from his posture. Ava spoke again, her tone softer, broken. Do you hate me? Evelyn turned to her, her expression unreadable. No, hatred is too heavy to carry. I learned to turn it into purpose instead. Ava swallowed hard, tears threatening to fall. Then why does this feel like punishment? Evelyn stepped closer, her eyes unwavering. Because for the first time, it is consequence. Outside, cameras flashed through the glass, the press having caught sight of the Kensington delegation leaving Monroe Tower. The world was watching, but inside that conference room, it no longer felt like spectacle, it felt like history realigning. Evelyn looked at Arthur one last time. Tell your daughter what legacy means, she said. It is not what you inherit. It is what you leave standing after truth walks in. Carla's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, then looked to Evelyn. The media wants a statement. Evelyn took the phone, pressing it to her ear. Tell them this, she said. This was never about revenge. It was about revelation. And revelation is not loud. It is precise. She ended the call and turned back to the group. You may leave. The Kensington board stood slowly, collecting their things with hands that no longer felt entitled to the room. As they exited, Evelyn remained still, watching them go, her reflection layered against the skyline like two worlds overlapping, the one that had tried to silence her and the one she had built from the silence itself. When the door finally closed, Carla spoke softly. You know they will spin this story however they can. Evelyn nodded. They will. But the truth will outlive their version. She gathered the signed papers and placed them neatly into the folder. Justice is not revenge, Carla, she said. It is order returning to where it was denied. As thunder rolled far in the distance, Evelyn looked out at the city, her voice low but resolute. And order, she whispered, has my signature now. By evening, the storm that had hovered over Manhattan had broken into a light, steady rain. The streets shimmered with reflections of city lights, and from the top floor of Monroe Tower, Evelyn watched the world she had reshaped begin to absorb the news. The city moved as if unaware that history had shifted beneath its feet. But inside her office, every vibration of her phone, every alert from the media, was a reminder that silence had finally found its sound. Carla Evans entered quietly, carrying a new folder marked Press Briefing. It is everywhere now, she said. The footage, the meeting, your acquisition, it has gone global. Evelyn turned from the window, her tone measured. Good, let it breathe. I do not need to explain what justice looks like. Carla nodded but hesitated before speaking again. Ava Kensington requested a meeting alone. She says she needs to apologize in person. Evelyn's gaze lingered on the skyline for a moment before she replied. Tomorrow morning. No cameras, no audience. Carla made a note, and then said softly, You know, Miss Monroe, people are calling you a hero. Evelyn almost smiled, but it was faint, distant. Heroes act for glory. I acted for correction. Carla paused at the doorway. Still, you changed something today. Evelyn's voice lowered. I did not change anything, Carla. I just reminded them that pretending not to see injustice is no longer profitable. When Carla left, Evelyn walked to her desk, her reflection shadowed against the city lights. Her phone buzzed again, another call from a network producer, asking for an exclusive interview. She declined. Then another buzz came through. But this one was different. It was a message from her mother. It read, Asterisk. You did not raise your voice, but the world heard you anyway. I am proud of you. Asterisk. Evelyn exhaled slowly, her eyes softening. She remembered being 16, standing in a department store when a clerk had followed her through every aisle, certain she would steal something. She remembered being 22, sitting outside a boardroom waiting for a meeting that would not start until someone realized she was not the assistant. Every memory had become a stone, and tonight, she had built a monument out of them. She turned off the phone and looked at her reflection again. The rain outside drew faint lines down the glass, like the city itself was trying to start over. A knock interrupted the quiet. Thomas, her driver, stepped in holding a small envelope. This just arrived, ma'am. No sender listed. Evelyn opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten note. Asterisk. Silence is power only when it is yours to choose. Asterisk. She recognized the handwriting. It was Ava's. Evelyn folded the note and placed it on her desk. For the first time since the incident, she felt something shift, not forgiveness, but closure, the kind that did not erase pain but gave it purpose. She whispered. Maybe she finally learned to listen. The city lights flickered against her eyes, turning them into two reflections of determination and calm. Evelyn sat down, opened her laptop, and began typing a new internal directive for Monroe Holdings. It was titled Times Equity from the Inside Out. Asterisk. The first line read, Asterisk. Every leader under this company will be trained to recognize the bias they deny. Asterisk. She paused, then added another sentence. Asterisk. And for every door closed in silence, we will open two in truth. Asterisk. As she pressed save, thunder rumbled faintly again in the distance, but this time it did not sound like warning. It sounded like applause. The next morning, Monroe Tower was quiet, except for the low hum of the rain still sliding down the glass walls. Evelyn Monroe arrived early, her footsteps echoing through the polished marble corridor. The sun had not yet broken through the clouds, and the world outside was still gray, the kind of gray that came before clarity. She set her coffee down on the conference table and reviewed the overnight reports. The story had gone beyond the United States, now trending in London, Dubai, and Johannesburg. Every headline carried her name, but none of them captured her intent. She had never wanted fame. She wanted proof that dignity could be louder than privilege. Carla Evans entered with her usual efficiency, holding a printed itinerary. Miss Monroe, the Kensington press team released a statement early this morning, she said. They are calling it an act of cooperation and growth. They are crediting you with initiating a new standard for ethical leadership. Evelyn took the paper but did not read it. They are rewriting their shame into wisdom, she said. Let them. Every empire learns humility the hard way. Carla hesitated. Ava is in the lobby, alone. No press, no cameras, just like you requested. Evelyn nodded once. Bring her up. Carla left, and a few minutes later, the elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Ava Kensington stepped out wearing a simple black dress, no jewelry, no entourage. Her posture had lost its arrogance. What remained was something closer to truth. Evelyn gestured toward the chair across from her. Sit, she said. Ava obeyed quietly. For a few seconds, neither spoke. The sound of rain filled the silence between them. You came, Evelyn said finally. Ava nodded. I had to. I have been replaying everything I said in that lounge. Every word I used to make myself feel superior. I was raised to think that wealth meant worth. You shattered that illusion in front of the entire world. Evelyn studied her carefully. Do you understand why it mattered? Ava's voice cracked. Because what I did was not just cruel, it was inherited cruelty. I used my father's power to reinforce something that should have died generations ago. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. Acknowledgement is a start, but it is not redemption, she said. Ava swallowed hard. Then tell me what redemption looks like. Evelyn stood and walked toward the window, watching the skyline brighten as the clouds began to part. It looks like using your voice for something other than validation, she said. It looks like standing between power and prejudice instead of hiding behind both. Ava lowered her gaze, her eyes welling with tears. Then I want to learn, she whispered. I want to be better. Evelyn turned back to her. Then start by listening to the people who do not look like you. Sit where they sit. Hear what they hear. The world does not need another apology. Ava, it needs accountability. Ava nodded slowly, her voice breaking. Thank you for not destroying me. Evelyn's tone was even. I did not destroy you. I removed the pedestal you were never meant to stand on. The rain outside softened to a drizzle. Ava stood, smoothing her dress. I hope one day you will forgive me, she said. Evelyn's gaze was steady, almost kind. Forgiveness is not the goal. Change is. Do that, and the world will forgive itself. Ava hesitated at the door before whispering, Goodbye, Miss Monroe. Evelyn replied softly, Goodbye, Ava, and good luck. When the door closed, Evelyn exhaled slowly, her reflection merging once more with the skyline, a woman who had been underestimated, insulted, and erased, yet stood taller than the city that once doubted her. When Ava Kensington left Monroe Tower that morning, the city greeted her with the blinding light of humility. For the first time, she walked through the press without raising her chin. The flash of cameras no longer felt like attention, it felt like reflection. Inside, on the top floor, Evelyn Monroe watched from her office window as the story she had never intended to tell continued to unfold beyond her control. It was no longer about a confrontation in a lounge or the collapse of a powerful trust. It had become something bigger, an awakening that carried her name, but belonged to everyone who had ever been told they did not belong. Carla Evans entered quietly, holding the latest update from their communications team. The story has gone global, she said. They are calling it the Monroe Standard. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Is that what they are calling justice now? Carla smiled faintly. No, ma'am. They are calling it accountability. Evelyn looked at her for a moment, then turned back to the skyline, where sunlight was breaking through the last of the clouds. Accountability, she repeated softly, as if testing the weight of the word. It took centuries to find its voice. Carla hesitated at the doorway. What do you want me to do with all the interview requests? Evelyn picked up her coffee, her voice calm and clear. Decline them. Let the story speak for itself. People should be talking about the system, not me. Carla nodded and left, the door closing quietly behind her. The office fell silent, except for the faint hum of the city below. Evelyn took a deep breath, her gaze drifting to a framed photograph on her desk. It was her mother, standing in front of a small house in Georgia, smiling through the hardships that had shaped them both. Underneath the frame, a handwritten note read, Asterisk, never let them mistake your silence for surrender. Asterisk. Evelyn touched the edge of the frame gently. I did not, Mama, she whispered. I just waited for the right time to use it. She walked toward the large glass wall, overlooking the skyline, the city shimmering beneath her feet. Every tower, every light, every reflection was a reminder of how far she had come from the days when she was treated as invisible. Now, she was undeniable. Her assistant's voice came through the intercom softly. Miss Monroe, the board is ready for you. Evelyn straightened her blazer, her posture strong and deliberate. Tell them I will be there in 2 minutes, she said. She took one last look out the window, her eyes filled with quiet fire. We have work to do, she murmured. Then she turned and walked toward the boardroom, her heels echoing through the corridor like a steady drumbeat of purpose. The camera of the city, real or imagined, followed her as she disappeared behind the glass doors. And in that moment, she was no longer just the woman who had been insulted by a billionaire heiress. She was the woman who redefined what leadership looked like. As the sunlight finally touched her desk, the reflection caught the engraved words on her nameplate, Asterisk Evelyn Monroe, founder and chief executive officer Monroe Holdings. Asterisk beneath it, a small inscription read, Asterisk dignity does not need to shout, it only needs to stand. Asterisk, and for everyone watching the story unfold across the world, that was the final lesson. Silence, when powered by truth, is the loudest sound of all.